Vadiyar has been apprehended by E Company thanks to Constable Kumaresan's heroic feat. He jumps rooftops, lands some precise punches, fires his 303 rifle, boom, boom, and gets O.C. Raghavendra and P.S. Menon their 10 seconds of glory. It is to be noted that Kumaresan was always in doubt if Vadiyar was good or bad. The police were against him, but the people were with him. But he helps capture Vadiyar anyway in Viduthalai Part 1. Viduthalai Part 2 is Perumal Vadiyar's side of the story. Does he justify in turning to violence as an activist, or does he pay to convince you? The nation wants to know. Director Vetrimaran wants you to come to the big screen and find out. Vanakamanga, this is Dr. M, and welcome to the Vocal Experience Samuga Valaithala channel. Almost every actor has given their best. I'm not sure if it's because it's a Vetrimaran project or if they were simply motivated. You get to see a completely renewed, fresh acting block from every actor. This is an in and out Vijay Sethupathi movie, and he carries it off with his usual finesse. If you remember, Soori was a big surprise in Viduthalai Part 1. No one knew he could act like that, nor have a great physique and capable of tender romance. But in this movie, it is not Sethupathi or Soori who surprise you, but actor Tamil and director Rajiv Menon. Tamil plays a cop who's brought back to duty from suspension to nab the escaped Perumal Vadiyar, and Rajiv Menon plays the role of a chief secretary who cunningly plans and strategizes his capture and to use Perumal Vadiyar's arrest for his political gain of his masters. Now, Tamil reminds you of Samuel L. Jackson. His uptight posture, grim looks, and newfound determination to climb the ranks of the police department get him to be a snake in a dove's costume. That's how convincing he is. He gets you to trust him and finally does that one master stroke to get you to lose trust in the whole system that Perumal Vadiyar is fighting against. Take a bow, Tamil. Take a bow, Rajiv Menon. Music is by Ilayaraja, and he nails it like a god. He gives an excellent blend of orchestral sound and synth techno. It's almost impossible to know the score while the movie is actually progressing. That's how beautifully the maestro has blended the score. You, sir, are truly God's child, and we are so blessed to be in this era, Ilayaraja sir. Sound design is by Pratap, very minimalistic, as the scenes are either shot in the forest or indoors. And the Atmos mix is by T. Udayakumar. It is also very minimalistic. See, they don't want to distract you with unnecessary pans and overhead rumbles. Vetrimaran does the role of a costume designer, and it's a big mess. There are scenes in the flashback where we don't know who's killing whom. They all wear the same kind of civil clothes. But it's not her mistake. The director should have instead that the Makkal Padai recruits wear some kind of a symbol, something like a red scarf or a black shirt for us to differentiate. The assault sequence in the sugarcane farm is a typical example. It's absolutely chaos. Only when somebody finally dies, we know, oh, kettavanga kitpitangla. Oh, nallavanga da nikrangalappa. So only then you realize, because it's shot in dark and everyone literally wears the same kind of costumes and everyone gets an ET in their chest, good or bad, we don't know until the last minute when the bad guys are dead. No, we need to really talk about the dialogues in this movie. Now, I'll tell you why. Because the dialogues are very, very lengthy, and there's a lot of thought process that has gone behind into making these dialogues. The last time I've seen such lengthy dialogues was in a Quentin Tarantino movie. They're extremely long, and there are different camera angles that are kept. But at the end of it, there is usually something that's happening. But nothing happens immediately after such lengthy dialogues. Typical example is the forest scene where Vijay Sethupathi is walking to the border along with the cops. We don't know where that dialogue is exactly heading. We expect something dramatic to happen. It does, but it happens after a very, very long time. Vetrimaran wants you to introspect on every dialogue to see the scheme of things, which is actually a good thing and irritating too, because the dialogues from the different scenes overlap. Just as a scene is coming to a close and the next actor on the next scene comes into the frame, both these dialogues overlap. You fail to understand what is the last few words the actor from the previous scenes. The dialogue mixes so bad in so many frames that you are trying to see, hey, the subtitle button. For example, there is a scene where Vijay Sethupathi, after a bomb blast, is on the ground and he's talking to himself, he's mumbling to himself. Or you have to just assume that, oh, sorry, probably he's thinking, he's trying to introspect. But again, there's a dialogue overlap and that scene just withers away. Stunts are by Peter Haynes, Stunt Shiva and Jackie. The forest standoff are nicely choreographed, but we would like to see some hand scuffle like in part 1. And the set design is by Jackie. They're very basic, and some areas like the collector's bungalow where Rajiv Menon leans on a mantle, there's a prop of an old VCR from National Panasonic. Now, this is a complete deja vu. That's a good touch when you keep a prop there. This is probably happening in the early 80s where a national VCR was very, very famous to be had in anyone's house. There are no credits for a colorist, so I'm presuming the editors did the job. The whole movie has a vintage feel in Vadia's flashback, but in the present, it's an absolute disappointment. It's very functional and bland and fails to evoke the communist flavor that the movie is based on. They could have kind of applied a red Lal Salam kindish palette, but I guess they didn't think too much about it. Ramar is on the editing desk, and to keep the pace of the lengthy, preachy dialogue, he jump cuts the movie as it progresses. The coherence is lost sometimes. The editing is very choppy at certain areas. See, Vetrimaran in his latest video said that they had to chop off 8 minutes of footage to bring the length down. So Ramar does whatever he could do with available camera angles he got from Whale Raj, the cinematographer. Not much of intuitive camera angles, just the usual close-ups and wide shot. Vetrimaran doesn't want you to admire the camera angles, but stick to what he's preaching through Vadia. But come on, sir, it would be very nice to see an over-the-shoulder shot of the constables during Vadia's preaching while they are in the forest. That would have been very interesting. So does Vadia convince us? Yes, he does. But why a sequel? Why not add the story as a sidetrack in Viduthalai 1? I would say Vetrimaran has done an okay job for the amount of hype Viduthalai Part 2 built after Viduthalai 1. You see, he's over-ambitious. He wants to be heard. So he had to build that why, where, who factor, for which he made a whole 3-hour-long Part 1 of Viduthalai. That's why this movie is a big disappointment. He wants to place a little bit of transition from shift our powers from the Zamindari system to the bureaucrats. See, after the Zamindari system got banned, the oppressors or the upper caste still wanted to dominate the lower caste. Now, how did they do that? By becoming politicians? No, by becoming the bureaucrats who are puppet masters of politicians. It's very obvious in the movie when he chose Rajiv Menon because he's fair-skinned and he speaks a lot of aval ival and you know which caste he actually belongs to, and he's a bureaucrat and he absolutely puppet masters with a string the politician. The opening scene where the politician rushes into Rajiv Menon's home, Rajiv Menon calmly handles him, places his cards very, very well. At a point, he has the politicians in his finger. When he says, Perumal Vadir has been apprehended, immediately the politician's face lights up and he doesn't care about the people who died in his electorate because now he knows that he can get a very fat commission. Just like that, towards the end, the climax, there are certain things that Rajiv Menon does as a bureaucrat to make you understand the kind of oppression the bureaucrats are playing, which is not direct. Now, Vetrimaran wants to establish that fact that it is not the cops that we hate in the first part, nor the politicians in the first part. It is the bureaucrat who's behind all of this, running things as oppressors. But I still feel that Vadia's story could have been told in 10 minutes as a flash back in Viduthalai 1 itself. Okay, now let's start saying that flashback, which could have been featured in Viduthalai 1. Perumal Vadir was a spectator and victim to an oppressive religious and socio-economically abusive society under the Zamindari system. One day, he meets a communist and decides to take that route. In that route, he felt it's necessary to take up violence to get the system to sit up and take notice. There, I've said it in less than 10 seconds. You could have added this as a flashback in part 1. See, Vetrimaran is very ambitious and he wants to say a lot. So he takes to a second part and the movie is extremely long and you lose focus halfway through the movie. The charm of Viduthalai 1 is a non-linear narration. It's like Soori writing a letter to his mother. It's a very fresh approach. And Soori's acting was a surprise. The songs, the beautiful forest romance, everything fell in place in Viduthalai 1. It was an absolute entertainer which put you in the conundrum between good versus evil. But we know much before Viduthalai 2 came who's going to die, who's going to take Vadia's place. So why do you want to waste 3 hours of an audience time and a year of actors and technicians' time to tell us that story? Ingeda Vetrimaran sothapitaru. So, Vetrimaran, curiosity killed the cat and an ego trip is a trip to nowhere. இந்த படத்தை நீங்கள் ஆக்சுவலாக ஒரு மணி நேரம் 1.5 மணி நேரத்தில் முடிச்சிருந்தா கூட ஒரு இங்கிலீஷ் படம் மாதிரி செம்ம டைட்டாக வந்திருக்கும். You could have focused a little more on your preaching and convince us as to why Soori becomes the next Vadia, or if there is going to be a sequel to this, because the conviction point is missing. So, does this movie get the yell from the wolf? So thanks so much for watching this video. If you like my content, do like, comment and subscribe and drop in your comments. This is Dr. M signing off with the Vocal Experience Samuga Channel.